Hello and welcome to Hidden Video Game Details, the series that aims to show you the things that you may have missed in your favourite games and that I think are really cool. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoy these videos and be sure to leave your suggestions in the comments below and I'll make sure that you get a shout out in the credits at the end of a future video. Anyway, without further delay, let's get started. Right, let's begin today's video with the excellent Fallout New Vegas. Now, one of the stats that you can increase in New Vegas is intelligence, and you'd probably think that there is no drawback to being too smart. Well, that's not entirely true. You see, during the I Could Make You Care quest, you need to track down a rangefinder. This leads you to asking the locals if they've seen anything, and one of the locals that you can ask is a homeless man. Talking to the man won't be much help though.
Huh? Ooh.
So the man isn't any help because he doesn't make any sense. Well, if you have very low intelligence and try speaking to the man again, you'll get a very different outcome.
Friend, not a few minutes ago I chanced upon a pair of destitute orphans grappling over just such an item. If you cover the area methodically, I'm quite certain you'll happen upon them with only the most insubstantial of delays. Be well, and do try and avoid the tragic path of the sot that led me to my present infirmities and spiritual woes.
So speaking to the man with low intelligence will reveal a well-spoken gentleman who has all the information that you need. You just needed to be on his level intelligence-wise to understand him. Also, I love how when having low intelligence, the question is phrased, "Hey, you see weird gun?" which I find pretty funny. Now, the 2004 Spider-Man 2 game is rightfully heralded as one of the best superhero games ever released. I mean, even 20 years later, the game is worth playing just for the swinging alone. Well, a Spider-Man game that isn't held in as high regards as Spider-Man 2 is the 2002 Spider-Man movie game. One of the highlights of this overall pretty disappointing movie tie-in is a boss battle with Vulture, which ends on top of the Chrysler building. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is not because I love to tell you about bad early noughties movie tie-ins. It's because the aftermath of this fight can actually be found in Spider-Man 2. If you head to the top of the Chrysler building, you can find several of the Vulture's feathers on a ledge, which is really cool. I've said before how I love it when a game's world is affected by your actions, and it's even better when those actions were in a previous game. Now, in the last episode of this series, we discovered that flushing everyday items down the toilet in Selaco probably isn't a good idea. In fact, it's probably not a good idea in any situation. Well, the first of today's Selaco details is much more satisfying. Selaco lets you pick up and interact with pretty much anything in the game world. 9 times out of 10, these items don't do anything. But that rule doesn't apply to the humble paper stack. If you pick up the pile of paper and throw it, this will happen. Now, I don't know about you, but I find this weirdly satisfying. But that's not where this detail ends. If you then run through the scattered paper, this will happen. Again, I don't know why, but this just tickles a certain part of my brain. The other detail that I wanted to share from the excellent Selaco is a ridiculous difficulty setting. The Selaco Must Fall difficulty is described as everything will try to kill you, and that nothing is how you remembered. And for proof of this, let's take a look at how the game starts when playing on this difficulty. So as soon as you spawn and take a few steps forward, you're blown up by a landmine. Now, I probably don't need to clarify this, but that landmine isn't there on any other difficulty. It's just a really cruel way of letting you know what you're in for when playing on this setting. If this is how the rest of the game is going to be on the Selaco Must Fall difficulty, I think I'll give it a pass. Though I fully expect some incredibly talented speedrunner to beat this mode whilst blindfolded using only their feet. So at this point, everyone should know that Sleeping Dogs is a great game. And if you have any interest in excellent open world games, then you should definitely check it out. In fact, Sleeping Dogs is so good that I'm always looking for any excuse I can to talk about it. And that leads me to this next detail. During the intensive care mission, you have to fight your way through a hospital to save Uncle Po from a group of assassins. Of course, a lot of blood is spilled as you take out these assassins, but much more than you may have noticed. Inside the hospital, you can find blood bags. In fact, you can find a lot of blood bags, and if you shoot them, this will happen. Now, I know that this seems pretty obvious, but much like the Selaco paper detail, I find this detail really satisfying, which might mean I end up on some sort of government watch list, as bursting blood bags with gunfire probably isn't meant to be found satisfying. Now, the original Moving Out was a big hit in the Eggcellent household. Working together to empty a house of its belongings was surprisingly good fun, so when the sequel was added to Game Pass a couple of weeks ago, I had to check it out, and I can confirm that it's more of the same, which is great. Now, a lot of people when moving house pack their furniture and personal belongings, leaving things like toilets and the kitchen sink behind. But in Moving Out 2, you will spend a lot of time in bathrooms yanking toilets out of the wall. This is of course very dirty work, and if you wanted to grab a quick shower to clean up, this will happen. So to protect your character's modesty, when in the shower a pixel filter will be applied. Now, it doesn't take a genius to see that your character definitely isn't naked underneath the filter, but it's a funny joke nonetheless. Now, this next detail has been suggested to me by one person in particular more than once, and I'm very glad it was. One of my favourite LEGO games is LEGO Jurassic World, which released in 2015. In typical LEGO fashion, there are hundreds of characters to unlock, including several of the dinosaurs from the movies. Of course, these dinosaurs all look the part, with this movie-accurate Velociraptor looking pretty damn good. Well, without wanting to sound weird, I want you to take a look at the raptor's feet. This is of course how the raptor's feet are portrayed in the first film, even though Dr. Grant mentions that raptors have their long claws on the middle of their foot.
And he slashes at you with this 6-inch retractable claw, like a razor, on the middle toe.
Well, if you unlock the raptor skeleton dinosaur and pay attention to its feet, you can see that the claw is correctly placed in the middle of the raptor's foot, which is perhaps a nod to the fact that the cloned dinosaurs seen in Jurassic Park aren't entirely accurate to their long extinct counterparts. It's a very clever detail and one that I'm glad was recommended. Up next is Halo Wars 2. The Halo Wars series sees you ditching the battle rifle and taking to the sky to command your troops from above. For some reason, this was my first time playing Halo Wars 2, despite meaning to try it out since it released, and as far as console RTSs go, it's a lot of fun. Now, I've said before that grunts from the Halo games are some of the funniest characters in all of video games, and this also applies to the spin-off games like Halo Wars 2. When in control of a group of grunts, they will say several funny lines of dialogue.
Let them come! I will flatten them all!
I think I may have put my tank on backwards.
I can't wait to test my skill against those mindless beasts!
If I had lips, I'd be whistling right about now. Your methane setting is up too high. Yeah, there, all fixed. Methane low. Be right back.
Any grunt that steps out of line will answer to me!
Be bored. Want to play a game of hunting rock?
Cover my post. Gotta go look for snacks.
Why must I be saddled with these puny idiots?
Sing along, anyone? No? Ow! Okay, no! What is a soldier without a war? How can a race advance without adversity? Can civilization thrive with no conflict?
Does anyone feel like they're being watched and manipulated by an unknown omniscient being?
I love it how the brutes are super serious and ready to do battle, whilst the grunts couldn't care less about the impending fight. Never change, grunts. Never change. So that's it. If you know of any cool things in games that you think I should check out, then please leave them down in the comments. Big or small, obvious or not obvious, if I think it's cool, I'll include it in a video and of course credit you like these people here. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.